lot of people are just deathly frightened of public speaking. Actually, it's the famous comedian Jerry Seinfeld says, people's number one fear is public speaking. Number two is death. So if you're at a funeral, you are actually better off if you were in the coffin than if you were performing the eulogy. Blows my mind because I just always been the kind of person where I love to talk, and you may have noticed. I guess more than anything, I fear silence because I just grew up in a house full of people, and that was not the way I guess I was raised to say. So yeah, ever since I was a little kid, I always been trying to jump up in front of the church and talk, do a report at school, and go. I was always the person that got picked to read their report or do their science project for everybody, and that is what has led me to my career currently as a podcaster, YouTuber, content creator, and that's kind of what we are talking about today. And this is just a little bit of footage from the Color of Magic podcast that I do with my friend Daquan Watson, talking about some recent revelations with everybody's favorite crime fighter, Superman. Now, some of you have probably heard from numerous media sources now. DC Comics hero Superman apparently is going to come out has come out as bisexual, and there's definitely, as we figured, there'd be a lot of opinions on it, including former Superman Dean Cain, who says, it would have been bold 20 years ago, but now it's not bold or brave anymore. First of all, it's not the Superman that he played, for example, on camera. It's not the Superman that a lot of people think of. It's not Clark. Clark is still straight, still married to Lois, and that would be strange if they'd taken a character that had been established as straight for 80 years or better and decided to just randomly have him become bisexual. That's not what has happened. The Superman in question here is Jonathan Kent, Clark and Lois's son, and that character has only been in the book since, I believe, 2015. So no, it's not any kind of going back on any sort of established history, because it's, especially in comic book terms, this is basically a brand new character. So nothing really unusual. I guess I don't want to say nothing unusual, because definitely there are not a whole lot of mainstream comic book characters that are gay or bisexual. And that's part of why this is making such huge headlines all across the world. Now, the first character that came out as gay, I believe it was Marvel's North Star, which is many, many years ago, and it obviously didn't have the same impact, because does the average person on the street know who North Star is? They probably don't. Does the average person, in a comic book shop know who North Star is? They probably don't. But everybody knows Superman, so this is just a huge, huge moment for gay and bisexual representation, and this is one where I applaud DC on this. This looks like it's being handled very well. They knew there were going to be a whole lot of negative comments sent their way, and I think it really is bold and brave, and I'm excited to read these books and find out what that is a little bit of what we do. It's hard to believe we are on, I believe, the last episode we taped was episode 105, and at the beginning we had zero idea that anybody would listen. We certainly didn't know that it was going to go for 105 episodes. There are so many people that start podcasts throughout the year. I think something like 70% of them never make it to even a third or a fourth episode. So nothing was guaranteed here in terms of the success, but it took off, and people seem to listen to it. People, like, somebody for Christmas sent me and the kids a bunch of really awesome sweaters that they made, and somebody drew incredible artwork on, and we even have merchandise that we are selling now as Color of Magic, and I never in a million years thought I would have any kind of merchandise. We got little tokens with me. On the tokens, I'm in much better shape than what I actually am, but this is all still very surreal, but it definitely needed to happen, because we were doing a podcast that we didn't hear anybody else out there doing. There are difficult issues, talking about things like gay representation, talking about racism, and yeah, our gaming spaces. But if you ain't ever played Call of Duty, there's a whole lot of racism, sexism, homophobia, all the phobias and the isms running rampant in our gaming community, and we want to talk about that. As I said, nobody in our Magic space we felt like was doing that, so we something, you know, that was on our hearts, and it's not always easy. We get, you can imagine what kind of comments we get, you know, in our emails and our various social medias. Now we've had people tell us that we're only successful because we're black, which is kind of ironic when you think about all the opportunities that you probably miss out on over the course of your career by, you know, by being black or being Asian or what have you. As a matter of fact, my co-host, you know, his name is Daquan. It's obviously very, you know, you see that resume, you assume it's a black person. In his case, you would assume correctly. So he just did the experiment where he took his first name off of there and used a nickname that people, you know, have for him that seems like it'd be a white dude. And lo and behold, he got way more feedback on the resume that didn't have his name listed as Daquan. This is the kind of stuff that we deal with on a daily basis in not just the gaming space, but out there in the real world, trying to get, just doing the most basic thing in the world, trying to get yourself a job and finding out the racism that's inherently baked into something like that. And he's not alone in it. I have heard so many stories of people doing the same thing, having to take whatever their name on their resume is that allows for their ethnicity, and then taking it off and changing your name, like from Juan to John, you know, or from Letitia to Trish, just things like that. And then lo and behold, you get a whole lot more responses. It's sad that that's the world we live in, but it is, and we don't change it by not talking about it. One of the things we talked about in this past podcast, there's a guy that works for Marvel Comics, but we're hoping he'll be gone by the time you see this video and possibly even by the time our podcast gets out. But there's an editor that works at Marvel that is a white guy, and to get his foot in the door at Marvel Comics, apparently he created an entirely different persona. Now that's, you know, Stephen King had a pen name, but this guy created not just a pen name, but a persona of a Japanese person, and actually, you know, writing in this Japanese voice is able to rise the ladder all the way basically to the top of Marvel Comics. And it turns out people that signed off on his promotion knew that he had done this, didn't consider it to be a big deal. That's the kind of things we're going against. We can't get our resume read because, you know, it has the name Daquan or Letitia on it, whereas white people are going there in the specific cases where it benefits them to be ethnic and just making up a Japanese persona and shooting to the top of a company. This is the kind of things we deal with on a daily basis, and we talk about it. We, you know, if we feel like you've earned it, we rip you a new one, and we're happy to be doing that in our gaming space. Yeah, just kind of showing y'all a little bit of what we do. I know you've heard me talk about some of these things. There's a couple of videos where we talk about the podcast a little bit. This is just kind of taking you a little behind the scenes, showing you what's happening. And definitely, if you want to check out the Color of Magic podcast, that is available on places like Podbean and pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. You already clearly are aware of this YouTube channel because you're watching it. We appreciate that you're watching it. And, you know, if you hadn't, go ahead and click that like, subscribe button, leave a comment, let me know who some of your favorite content creators and podcasters are. And my personal YouTube channel is over, it sounds like I'm the only one there, but it's over at DL Caesar, talking about all kinds of gaming and nerd related things, and also some of the stuff I talked about here regarding the experience that people of color and marginalized communities have in that space. And with that, I will catch y'all in the next video.